Trust me, I have thought and rethought the idea of doing this live show this morning after quite an interesting day yesterday. Now, this morning I typed in something about hoovering techniques. I don't even think I mentioned, yes, sorry, part of my search is cut off. Yeah, hoovering techniques, or hoovering something by helicopter and on foot in public places to intimidate and harass. Welcome to the startup. This might be a little later getting started this morning. Here we are at 7:25 a.m. on September the 21st, 2025. And this says using a helicopter and on foot surveillance. This happened to me yesterday simultaneously in a public place to intimidate and harass someone is a crime, most likely considered stalking. This kind of activity can lead to criminal charges, a restraining order, and a civil lawsuit. Now, it seems like it is that easy, right, to get the bad guys for doing what they're doing. Stalking is a crime in all 50 states, taken very seriously. It should be taken seriously by law enforcement. Now, the copter that was hovering over me, and of course, it can survive. It can cause the person to fear and fear for their safety, and suffer significant emotional distress, et cetera, et cetera. It would demonstrate a deliberate course of conduct aimed at intimidating the victim. The use of a copter would also likely be seen as a particularly invasive and threatening act, as demonstrated by previous criminal cases involving aerial stalking. Now, these people know that they can do this because my phone was in my car and I was on a pickleball court playing pickleball with my children. And as my children have told me, because they know that I'm being stalked and harassed, they said, Mom, listen, you have to just forget about the people who are peeking in the parks, hiding behind the trees when nobody else is around with their dogs. I mean, interesting shepherds. And, the last couple times I've been to the park to play pickleball, last 2 days over the weekend, today's Sunday, it was Friday and Saturday, these people were lurking. I mean, they were literally hiding behind trees, like hiding around the corner behind trees, like right up against the trees, hanging out, hiding. And yesterday, this copter came while we were in the midst of a game. Now, what was interesting was before the copter was seen in the sky, and I'm not sure, it wasn't marked clearly whether it was a police copter or military copter. It wasn't marked clearly. But my son had thought, it's a police helicopter. But before that, there was a low siren in the background, gone on and on, just continuously. It almost sounded as if somebody in the neighborhood close by was playing a prank with some sort of recorded siren. That's what it sounds like. Okay, but it kept going and going. And I just kept saying to myself, just keep going. Don't let it bother you. Just play the game. Stop worrying, because you go to do exercise to release stress, to help your body survive the world. That's what you do it for. And these people are trying to sabotage that. And it's working. Over the past 6 years that this has been going on, or at least that I've known that it's been going on, that has deteriorated. So good job, bad guys. I mean, it has. If anybody knows me and knows, how serious of an exerciser I was and how disciplined I was about all my choices, and how ambitious and energetic I was, and how motivated. These people are trying to sabotage that. Okay. So I just kept on going, even despite the fact that, sure enough, they couldn't get my attention by the sirens. They couldn't get a reaction out of me, even from a distance. I couldn't see where the sirens were coming from, but I could hear them in the distance. But I kept on playing, and I kept on concentrating on the job at hand, on the task, which was returning the ball, So When they couldn't get my attention, they sent a copter over. And the copter was hoovering, even though there were people in the area parked by, but there was nobody in the same vicinity that we were at the time. But they had actually come down looking like they were going to land, which there wasn't really a place right there for them to land. So I was like, who are they? What are they doing? So, anyways, but of course, that caused my kids to stop, even though I wanted to keep playing because I wanted to show them that I was not intimidated in the least by their bullying tactics. I knew exactly what they were doing. Now, after they had left, we had gone on to continue to play. And then as we were leaving, I thought it was kind of strange. Somebody in their bleeding American flag red t-shirt comes walking by with, with a woman. And they have two big dogs that cross our paths as we're trying to get into our car. I mean, they were just walking through, but they, look like shepherds. And so I'll let you just kind of, make your own assumption to what was actually going on. But this was an interesting setup, but we crossed paths with the dogs, and actually we had crossed over the path before the dogs had crossed through, which, yeah, I mean, I guess just, and if you're smart enough to kind of think through these things, you can kind of get it. But what's interesting is the art of triangulation here. I'm the kind of person, and most gang stalking victims are, who were just trying to get away from toxic people. You might have fallen down the rabbit hole and realized more and more toxic people after you got into this. But, nevertheless, your goal was to get better in life. Your goal was to not only for your own achievements, your own goals and aspirations, you would want to ambitiously, energetically get yourself to a higher place, right? To do better, financially better. I'm actually doing financially worse. I have the same energy, the same drive pretty much as I had 6 years ago, except for the fact that I am deeply wounded by these nonstop, everyday stalking and harassment. Everywhere I go, it makes it hard for me to do what I need to do, whether it even be to drive or just to get myself in the right mindset, which is usually done by prayer before I leave the house every day. But even exercise can be difficult because if you start jogging and then all of a sudden perps run across the street dressed in red and black on purpose just to be in your view, you can just do a quick turnaround on the road and run the other way. It's not like it's that hard, but still you know that people are deliberately kind of casing you on purpose. This is a really difficult thing. And I think that these people don't want us to tell others, because if you're living, other TIs have said this in their videos too, but if you're living a normal life, which would have been, I mean, maybe 8-10 years ago for me, if you're living a pretty normal life and you don't know about gang stalking, you don't know about the intimidating tactics, the bullying, the stalking, the harassment, the community smear campaigns. This does not really affect you. But if you know about it, and if you did know about it, and you were any kind of human soul, you would probably try to help in some way, shape, or form, because this is really devastating. Now, it does go on to say a civil lawsuit for harassment may also be an option for the victim to seek monetary damages. The victim would need to demonstrate that they suffered harm, such as significant emotional distress, and that the harassment is the reason for the damages. This could include compensation for expenses like therapy or other related costs. Now, sometimes they know that I am not going to be moved by it. And yesterday, I really was not. I was just like, my goal is to get my exercise here, to spend some time with my kids, and not to react. And I left my phone in the car and didn't even make a move to go get it, because every single day, no matter where I go now, they are showing up with an intent, because some of the places that I go, excuse me, are not real popular. So sometimes there's almost nobody there. And I usually know the patterns of behavior for people who have used those places, those parks in the past, but they are relatively empty and nobody would really know that we're there unless, of course, they're using some sort of app to stalk and harass us um, per the phone, which is most likely the case if it's this has been going on for 6 years now. So it's just that they change up the game plan a little bit each time. Now, yeah, I found it interesting that they use the triangulation pattern, which is, you know, the victim wants nothing more than to get out of the vicious toxic cycle, which is what they've been trying to do from the beginning. Try to make their own lives better, improve it, and get away from toxic persons. But toxic persons want to keep the world going downhill in a bad place. And let me, in a bad way, let me explain this to you. So if you're married to somebody for 20 years, right, and you move forward, somebody recently around me had this issue where they broke up, right? They broke up, but they were able to remain friends. Okay. Now, if you're married to somebody for 20 years, most likely you should be able to remain friends with them unless there's something very, very wrong. Okay. And in the world that we're living in, where we've all survived the pandemic, okay, and we have, and there's far more aftermath right here that's being shown. All of the gang stalking victims and survivors are out making videos, and it's just wonderful. I love to see this because when I turn on YouTube and I see that every video, it's a bittersweet thing, you guys. Okay, it makes me sad in one respect, right? Like, oh my God, this is the world right now, right? But at the same time, all of these people moving forward to out this program, right? To just bring it out into, and this is what it deserves, because this is such a microscopic, hidden camera, surveillance, hidden weapon technology program that aims to silently hurt someone, right? I love to see all of these videos on there. There isn't anything that caused more gratitude to go to bed last night and to listen. There's a new guy that I'm listening to, Dr. somebody, and he is wonderful. I'm gonna have to try to remember this, tell you guys about him. And he is just wonderful on educating the public about these gang stalkers. I'm gonna have to figure this out so that I can tell you. But there was nothing. There was nothing that I was more grateful for to go to bed last night than to see all of these people who are brave souls putting this stuff out there. Now, I know what they want to do to me. They are trying to create, they are trying to rewrite my story completely to show that I am a completely different person than anybody ever believed I was. They are trying to put me in jail. They are trying to put charges against me. They are like unfair, wrong charges against me. They are letting other people bully and intimidate and harass me and putting those charges against me. They are letting other people do criminal acts against me and charge me. So they are trying to find, if they couldn't try to lock me up with a fake you're mentally ill thing. Okay, they couldn't do that. And I wasn't a drug taker when I was kind of when I realized that this program was going on for me. I wasn't a medicine user, like a prescription medicine user. Okay, so they people who were in my circle at that time, who were most likely perps, and then some just recently, have mentioned the use of these kind of drugs. But these people are people who are bullying me and who were part of the schemes. Um, So it was interesting because they want you to buy into one program or another and make yourself look like you are there's something wrong with you. It's definitely not them, right? They're not doing anything wrong. So the great art of triangulation is to move the rescuer and the perpetrator and the victim all around so that they can make the victim look like the perpetrator. We're going to hover and hang over them like we're looking for somebody. And when I was in the courthouse the other day, if you listen to my other video, the same tactic happened. I walked in and there were about 10 officers standing there when I was going through security to get into the courthouse, right? So if any one of them wanted to claim that I was guilty of something, it would have been right there when I put my keys and my wallet into the little cup and walked through, right? It would have happened then. But on my way out of the courthouse was um when the doors were locked and somebody from up above shouted down, fits the description. The description for what? For putting my show on just like other millions of survivors. I mean, there's a lot of people who are being targeted right now. People keep telling me, nobody knows what's going on. Of course they do. Of course they're finding out. They're understanding it. But just like us, they're trying to live their lives. And they have every right to do that. But people are finding out. That's not true at all. People are learning. You have to be a good teacher. You have to do something about it. Now, so this is what they're trying to do. They're trying to create some sort of toxic environment and some cooked up, blown out of proportion story to try to change who I am from the beginning to the end and make it look like it's all on me. This is the triangulation pattern. This is pretty typical. Now, yeah. So what I was going to say was, with the world being the way it was, with the way it is, and my ex is getting married, I think in a week, he's getting remarried. You know, people have said to me, isn't, isn't, should he be getting married right now? He's taking you to court. You've been drawn out in that for 6 months now. You're barely hanging on. Like you're on the end of your life rope, right? Your finances have become worse. Your health has become worse. Your everything has deteriorated in your life, even though you still have the same attitude that Viktor Frankl was carrying, right? You still have that same attitude. You still have a fight mentality. Right. So what I'm trying to tell you is if they're not breaking your spirit and not causing you to commit suicide, or they're not I mean, they can lock you up, and they've proven that. They will do that. They will go to all different extremes. They have put the fear in me like nobody else could before. But I'm not letting them bully and intimidate me anymore. I'm tired of their crap. This has gone too far. And they've really taken this to an extreme. They've really used a person like me. And if they can do it to a person like me, they can do it to a person like you. They did it to a person like Jesus. They did that. So don't put it past them. Now, this guy that I was talking about who does these gang stalking videos, he also talks about how it's hard to tell which way this is coming from, whether it's some kind of Freemasonry group or satanic group or three-digit agency, and I mentioned those things too. It's kind of a mixed bag of junk. Let me see if I can find him on here. I think he's. Anyways, I'm gonna try to pull this up. But yeah, he's got some interesting videos on gang stalking. Maybe I'll have to share that with one of my next videos. But anyways, yeah. So these guys are trying to create a new image of you in the public eye because they have used people to jump on their bandwagon. That's exactly what it is. It's a bandwagon technique by using smear uh, campaign and all that. And it might just be because you got a divorce. So what I'm saying is, if you've come through the pandemic, right? We've come through all of that. I went through a divorce right before that. Okay. So came through the pandemic. And then we have all this aftermath where all the gang stalking stuff is coming out. it's even highly triggering to those of us who listen to other victims' stories. It is highly triggering to us as well. But we realize that this is the reality that we're living in at this point, and that it's all going to hell in a handbasket. I mean, the truth is there. I mean, hopefully God comes down at some point and zaps the living out of the bad guys. I mean, that's what I'm hoping for. Uh, and he could put that copter right out of the sky, you know? So, uh, but so I guess the point I'm trying to make is how much can one person take? So when you keep just dumping every day, stalking, harassment, bullying, smear campaigns, job loss, divorce, pandemic, this, that, just nonstop. And then you go to get remarried, and yet your ex is still battling through not only the targeting, gang stalking stuff, but the 6 months court battle, with very slim amounts of resources. Okay. uh and then you're trying to behave like you're both not cuckoo. And I mean, I'm not probably not invited to the wedding, and that's perfectly fine. I don't want to be there, but I do want to say this. I actually had a dream the other night that I go in and I am the one who objects. And my reasoning for objections were really funny. I should put them into a comic strip but I think that maybe it's a good thing that one toxic person marries the other. I just know how other people are feeling about this, and I don't have any control over that. I People say to me, "Well, if he's still coming at you in a vengeful manner," I mean, nobody who is married to somebody for 20 years would want to hurt that person if they're already suffering, right? Like if you saw that your ex-spouse was suffering so badly, nobody who is in a non-narcissistic um who is non-narcissistic and not some kind of mentally ill person would want to harm their significant other whenever they are being kicked and dragged and basically killed off. Nobody would want to keep pushing the pain button. See what I'm saying? But those who are toxic sometimes deserve those who are toxic, but two toxic people working against you is not a good thing either. And this other person should not be given clearances. I'm just saying there's no reason why this person should be giving clearance for anything. But I do see how this becomes, and I feel for him in this way that this is becoming big on him, because what goes around comes around. When you destroy somebody's business, your ex-partner's business, and you take away, I mean, if you contributed to that in any way or to your own financial decline by taking away one of your resources, which could be, the ability for the other person to work without just coming out and saying, "Hey, look, I wanted you to be a stay-at-home person." But the finances weren't there. And, if the other person had the talent and the abilities and the willingness and had gifts and talents that were supposed to be shared to work and to help create, contribute financially to the household. Um, and somebody went and sabotaged that or had a hand in that. Um, and I'm talking about even just as much as intercepting calls and this and that. Um, this puts people into the situation that, unfortunately, if you do bad to others, it comes around to you. And that's just what I'm trying to say here, is that then you're left with all those responsibilities because you're taking away the means and the rights of another human being, which is not your job to do. It's not your job on earth to sabotage somebody else. And to do that to somebody that you claim to have loved and cared for 20 years is really, I mean, there would be no reason for that. But I mean, I see people all the time who are couples who actually, have remarried or whatnot and get along perfectly fine with their ex spouse. But when you have a look on your face like evil and disgusted, and you look as if you're out to be spiteful and have vengeance towards that person, well, then there's some sort of problem. There's some sort of behavioral issue there. And you can't try to pin that on somebody else who's receiving your attacks. It just doesn't work that way. It it will all come around to come out. Um, and this was the very reason why I tried to get out of a toxic relationship. The problem was that I didn't realize that there were even more toxic people in the world, and ended up in this mess because I didn't go about it the right way in the first place and learned from bad people that, the world is just a bad place. I mean, it really is. And there aren't a lot of good people out there. There really aren't. And the Christians who are out there are usually fake Christians, anyways. Most people have good and bad in them. Even some of the stories that I listen to from other TIs, it's good and bad mix, because everybody is hurt through this awful thing that's being allowed to be run through this country. And I'm tired of the comments that say that this is China or this is somebody else doing this. No, this is our own country doing it. It's obviously apparent when you've got sirens in the background and copters hanging over you when you're trying to play a game of pickleball, for exercise and to relieve stress. I mean, it's definitely obvious that's not somebody from China probably sitting up there. But who knows? I mean, everybody's in bed with everybody, right? So, all right, we're going off here, but yeah, I just want you to see how that goes, how this kind of circles around, and how these people work together. And of course, this causes pretty significant emotional distress for the victim. And then, of course, if any of the other bullies find out that, hey, somebody else is working, they can just kind of work against you, collaborate and work against you, which is a pretty disgusting thing. So keep surviving. Let me know if you have any questions or comments. And, somebody really smart out there who is beyond normal therapy training, or, knows how to fight these color coded attacks, or these, people who come within your space that raise your heart rate and get your fight, flight, freeze going. If you know how to stop those things, and you can provide service, because most of us aren't able to pay for anything medically to get done, or any of that, yet they'll try to deem that we have the problem, right? But in order to learn how to cope with their menacing tactics, if you have suggestions for how to kind of deprogram that patterning, that color coded abuse and things, so that when you see somebody in your midst in that color or whatever, and you start getting triggered, what you could do about it. You really have to be there to kind of understand how that becomes a thing. I mean, it's just gross. And I'm going to get off of here, and I'm going to finish saying my morning prayers, and ask God to intervene, because that's the only way we're going to get this done. All right, you guys, go out and make it a good day. Stay tuned.